Welcome to the Stay at Home Nurse Podcast. I'm your host, Deanna Cooper Gillingham. For over 25 years, I've strived to use my nurse credentials to find work that fit my lifestyle. Whether it was raising my 4 children and 3 fur babies, traveling the world, or moving to Mexico and living on the Caribbean Sea. Sometimes I succeeded and sometimes I failed, but I always learned from the experience. Now, I want to help you by sharing what worked and what didn't work. There are so many opportunities out there for nurses today. The Stay at Home Nurse Podcast will inspire and equip you to have a nursing career that is meaningful and supports your lifestyle. Now let's get started. Welcome to episode 8 of the Stay at Home Nurse Podcast. Thank you for joining me today. Today we're doing something new. We're going to answer a listener question. Just to set the ground rules, if you email me at hello@thestayathomenurse.com, I will most likely answer you during the podcast. If you have this question, there are others out there with the same question, and I want to be able to help as many of you as possible. Next, unless you say otherwise, I will keep you anonymous. If you want me to say who you are, please let me know so I can include your name in the podcast. Otherwise, I will keep any identifying information off the show. Our first listener question asks, I am looking for a remote nursing job. I've been applying everywhere for a few months with a few interviews, but no real job offers. I have 29 years of nursing in many different areas, but no experience with utilization review or any of the other remote postings. Are there courses of some kind to take to help? I can't make up experience, but I can take some courses. What do you think? Well, first of all, I love this question for so many reasons. I like that you know what you want. You want a work-from-home nursing job. I also like that you've been getting some interviews. That tells me that your resume is making it through the automated systems and you're actually landing interviews. It does tell me that the interview process is probably where your problem is. Now, that doesn't mean that you're bad at interviewing. You may want to have someone evaluate and sit with you and just do some mock interviews to see how that works out. But it may actually be that when you get to the interview, you don't know how to answer the questions that they're asking about something like utilization review, which you mentioned. With utilization review, they're going to be wondering about what you know about things like insurance principles, levels of care. And if you've never had to think about these things, you may not know how to answer them. You may freeze up, and that might be why you're not getting these jobs. Now, the other thing I like about your question is that you take on responsibility and you're saying, what can I do? I can't make up experience, but I need to know what I can do. I love that you're looking at this in a positive way of what can I do to make something happen. You're not blaming people for not hiring you and giving you a chance. I really love the way that you're taking ownership of this, and that's actually one of the reasons why I chose your question. So let's see how we can help you out. We've already told you that your resume probably is not the problem, but you do want to take a look at your resume. Use words that people, if you're looking for a work-from-home job, people that would hire you for those types of positions want to make sure that you can work independently, because you're not going to be in an office setting where you can just kind of look at the next cubicle and say, hey, what do you think about this? Again, you're not going to be on the floor where you can ask another nurse to come in and help you start the IV that you can't get. So you really need to be able to show on your resume and during your interview that you can work independently and that you've done this before. Next, if you're working from home, you're going to be working on a computer. So you want to make sure that they know that you have computer skills. Now, you don't have to be a computer programmer. You don't have to be IT. What you do have to do is you have to show them that you know your way around a computer, that you know simple things like to restart the computer and reboot it if something's not working right, that you know how to open up programs, that you can do a basic Google search and find answers for yourself. Again, you're not going to have somebody to ask, so you have to be able to think, how would I find the answer to this problem, like my computer's frozen or something like that, without having to call the IT department all the time. They're also going to want to make sure that you know how to open an email, send an email, get an attachment on and off of an email, because these are things this is how you'll communicate with your boss, being that you will not take a piece of paper directly to another employee. You will be putting attachments on your email. So you want to make sure that you state that you're proficient with using emails. If you know that they use something like Microsoft Outlook, then you can say specifically, I'm very proficient with Microsoft Outlook. You also want to make sure that they know that you know how to use things like Word and Excel. Now, you don't have to be perfect or a master with these. Basically, when you're working from home, you need to be able to use a simple Word document to maybe write something up and send it to your employer. You may have to write up a report or something like that and attach it to an email and email it to your employer. You'll also be required to maybe fill out a spreadsheet of some type. You don't have to be an Excel wizard, but knowing how to input data onto a spreadsheet, maybe sort things. You don't need to know complicated functions, but at least the basics. If they know you have that, they're going to be happy. Also, if you're a super user with any of the systems that you use where you currently work, make sure you put that on there. If they think you're computer proficient, that gives them a sense of ease of, we're not going to hire this person and then they're not going to work out because they can't even log on to their computer. Now, if you're lacking in any of these, don't worry. You can go online and you can Google it and you'll find some free resources or some really low-cost courses that you can take in Word, email, basic computer skills. It doesn't have to be complicated. Just make sure that you are not afraid of the computer. The next thing I would recommend is, you mentioned utilization management. If that's something that you want to do, I would first say make sure it's for you. You're going to not be doing patient care. And for a lot of people, they get hired into these positions and then it doesn't work out because they're all of a sudden isolated. They're used to working in a hospital or a setting where there's a lot of people around, and now they're sitting in a spare bedroom in their house with absolutely no contact. Utilization review, you will be dealing with papers and computers, very little phone calls or interaction with people. So just remember that. If that is something that you like, some people actually, they're ready for that, especially after 29 years, as you say, of nursing, and you think that that's something that you want to do. We actually do have a utilization management course. It is an online course, totally online. You do have an instructor who checks your work to make sure that what you're learning, you're actually getting it. And that is something that you can find on our website at thecasemanagementinstitute.com, and just click on the tab that says Utilization Review Course. If you think that you may want to do something with more patient contact, then I would suggest case management. Very similar to utilization review, some case managers do utilization review as part of their job, but you have much more patient interaction. You may not directly be doing patient contact, but you'll be calling the patients on the phone. You'll be doing patient education. You'll be doing assessment of the patient. So you're using a lot more of those nursing skills than you would be doing using utilization management. They're both wonderful work from home positions. I would suggest either one of them. You just have to know your personality. I would hate for you to quit a job that you have now and start working in something, but it wasn't the right fit, which reminds me, we need to do an episode soon about how to know what is the right fit, where we'll talk about some of these different jobs and knowing your personality. If you need to be around people, then I would strongly suggest not doing utilization review and doing something more like case management. If you're okay, if you're more of an introvert and you're okay with just dealing with papers and computer systems and software, then utilization management would be great for you. Now, that being said, because of your 29 years of experience in different areas, again, you would be a great candidate for case management. If I was in a hiring position as a case manager, I would be looking at somebody who had 29 years of experience in many different areas. In fact, the person who hired me, that's why they hired me. At the time, I think I had 17 years of experience in many different areas. So that would make you very desirable for that type of a position. But what's going to make them worry is, do you have the computer skills and do you have the knowledge of case management? If you're doing a remote position, there's nobody there to look over your shoulder. There's nobody there for you to overhear. So you're learning how to do things. So again, taking a course would probably be beneficial for you in that you'll learn the terminology. Even after taking something like one of our courses, you're going to know the terminology that is used in case management that's going to make you sound like you know what you're doing, you're confident that this is the direction you want to move into, and that they don't feel like they're going to be wasting your time hiring you and training you for you to figure out that this isn't really what you want to do. By taking a course, they know that you've been through the course, you know what case management is, and yes, you feel like this is a good fit for you. You've invested in yourself, a little more likely that somebody else is going to invest in you. I hope you found this information helpful, and I would love to hear back from you again with any feedback that you have or any action steps that you've taken. Keep us posted on how the job search is going. And I want to hear from you. What are your questions? Do you like this type of an episode where I answer a listener question? Do you like the other episodes better? Would you like me to maybe answer a question at the end of a regular episode? Let me know your feedback. We're just starting off with this, and you're going to have major input into how the podcast progresses. I would love your feedback at hello@thestayathomenurse.com. Also, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, Deanna Cooper Gillingham, RN, CCM. If you think this episode would be helpful to one of your colleagues or friends, I really hope that you would consider sharing it with them. Also, if you want to keep hearing from us, make sure you hit the subscribe button. I look forward to talking to you again next week.